Welcome back to LaidOPEN Podcast. I'm your host, Charna Cassell, and today's guest is really special. She's somebody that I have wanted to work with for over a decade, and through a series of synchronicities, she's come back on my radar, and I'm going to get to be in a workshop with her this year. And so she is somebody who really helps people embody their story, tell their story, craft their story. She's Ann Randolph, an award-winning playwright, performer, and teacher whose life work bridges comedy, storytelling, and transformation. A trailblazer in autobiographical solo performance, Ann has written and performed 6 critically acclaimed solo shows, earning top honors across the country. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did while being in it. And you might actually see a little bit of a different side of me. I feel like she brought out a more casual, excited part of me that I think my clients get to see and my friends get to see, but you may not hear as much during my interviews. And I am so excited to get to know this human more. So welcome, Ann.
Learn how to live embodied. Your life is about to unwind. Uncover new tools and start healing. Leave trauma and tension behind. Isn't it great, laid open? Let all your desires come true. How can you live laid open? Imagine yourself brand new. Imagine yourself brand new.
I'm really, really thrilled to have you as a guest.
I'm excited to be here too. Thank you very much.
I was telling you offline that I've wanted to work with you for over a decade. And I discovered you when I'd performed a one-woman show in my late 20s. And so I'm 50 now. So it's been a while.
God, you still look like you're 20, Charna. Okay, was that a setup for me to tell you that? But congratulations, it's a huge accomplishment.
It's perspective of like you were on my radar for a long time. And then I had a quieter impulse of writing a book. But the value of what you've offered came across my path again from this person, this friend in a Kundalini yoga teacher training. And what he was describing it was such a powerful exercise that your name came into my head out of nowhere. And I hadn't, received anything from you in terms of emails or anything for a really long time. But for some reason, I was like, I wonder if that was Ann Randolph. And then he said your name, and I was like, I have to go. I have to join her next.
And I was thrilled. You're going to be with me a whole week in Mill Valley, right? At the Rasta Villa.
And I want to mention, so you're also offering, this is going to come out after this,
That's
but
okay.
you're offering a free little writing daily for the next 5 days, which I'm going to try to do either
Yes,
while I'm
because I
traveling.
so believe in the power of daily writing and the healing benefits. If I can get everybody on board doing that, oh my gosh, life would be quite different
It's a
for
t-
everybody. Yeah,
it-
it's a game changer.
it's a for me it was, I think, my first spiritual practice was daily writing.
Yeah.
I discovered Natalie Goldberg's book.
Well, thank God for Natalie and Julia Cameron leading the way for personal writing, healing writing.
Yeah. Well, that's a big part of your approach, right?
Yes.
Is writing for transformation.
Yes, it is, because I've seen it in my own life when I write solo shows. I think I've written 6 autobiographical solo shows, but I often hide myself in characters, but I'm really letting the truth come through because I'm known for big, outlandish comedic characters with great amount of pathos. But I always think about Steve Almond's quote that the path to truth runs through shame. And even if you're writing fiction, it's colored with the dark ink of your own freakish secrets. So these shows, even though I'd say they're semi-autobiographical and I'm playing characters, that truth is always coming through. And I think when I'm playing a character, a comedic character, I can bring up that shame in a way that is funny and it excites me. And not that it and people unmute my daily writing. I mean, they're not coming from a comedy background. Maybe a few are, but
Yeah.
that's just been always my way of finding the way to speak it is through these alter egos.
Well, I mean, it's also so important, like, tragi comedy and the
Yeah.
things that, like, the truths you can get at through science fiction, for instance,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so being able to balance that is so essential.
It is. I often tell people if there's a story and it's really, I mean, it's bringing up these memories that are quite traumatic, that come in through a third person.
Yeah.
Another character can make it easier to meet it for the first time.
When I worked on a show in my 20s, it was called Novice Fucker.
Great title. I hope it was sold out with that one, man. Okay.
And it was about working at Good Vibrations, which is a
Yes.
worker-owned
I
sex toy
know.
store.
Yeah.
And it was about the boundary crossings that happen with customers that sparked memories from childhood and all the boundary crossings and healing from sexual trauma. So I did customers in the store, I did my mother, I did my great-grandmother,
This is
and
great.
and it was the use of comedy really softened the blow of some of the other scenes, but what was so interesting is at one point, I did it 3 nights in a row at Highways in Los
Yeah, I
Angeles,
know highways. Yes.
and it was very different each night, and one of the nights, my mom came.
Oh
Like,
my.
she wasn't gonna come, and then she
Oh,
came, and it was a completely different show that night. Like, one night, people are like, "You're hysterical," and that night, it was just, like, this sad, muted it was just completely so it was so interesting. Same written material, but obviously,
right.
what was going through me communicated a very different
It's
show.
amazing what happens when you are in transmission, because I think we're all transmitters on that stage energetically. We are, right? What kind of energy? And some nights it is pin drop silence. And as a comedian, that's death, right? It's like, I can't have pin drop silence. I'm just thinking that this is a little bit related to your show, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a time. It's a show that I have now called Inappropriate in All the Right Ways. And when some nights I would do that show and it's 80 minutes and it's telling my life story. This is the first time I'm really telling my life story in a show
Yeah.
without picking like a certain segment. And afterwards, people would come up sometimes and say, "Oh, you poor thing." And it made me feel like a victim. And I was just so angry. I'm like, this show's not about, but I realized I was still carrying some victim energy in that show. And this went on for years, and I wouldn't ever let any newspaper review it, anybody, because I wouldn't know on a given night, is my hero energy going to come through or is my victim? And boy, as a solo artist, you don't ever want to have victim energy coming out there. And I couldn't control it. And I realized I'm thinking about the Joey Cameron quote, right in the direction you want to see your life going. And I literally wrote myself into that hero energy, but I wasn't there yet. And it took a while for me to catch up to the words. And then finally, only this year, have I been able to sustain that hero energy because I'm in a whole different place. I feel like grace and work that I've been doing, I finally got there.
Yeah.
But initially, I was performing a show in which I wasn't there. And so you're writing yourself to that place where you want to be. And I got there. So I'm really happy.
Congratulations. And God, I love that. And it's so nuanced and so important. Can you say, because I know I listened to a different interview with you and you were talking about that triangle, right? Of like victim, hero, and perpetrator.
Oh, yeah.
And so can you speak a little bit to that regarding the importance of it?
Oh, no. It's huge
Yeah.
because we all have those qualities within us of victim, hero, perpetrator. And perpetrator is a loaded word,
It
right?
is. Offender. Yeah.
Offender. But if you're doing a solo show or you're writing anything for anybody to trust, you have to acknowledge that part of in you that has that offender in you, that perpetrator in you. where you are flawed, where you misbehave right and left. And of course, as human beings, we don't want anybody to know that shit. We're trying to like push it down all the time and look like I'm just, I'm a people pleaser, I'm Pollyanna, right? But it's the very thing you're trying to hide and suppress, which is often where, you do people wrong, you misbehave. That's the thing that needs to come to light. And then the hero, and I'll see this in solo shows, and this was what was happening with me, even though the words were the same, you hear this energy of this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me.
Yeah.
Rather than the hero taking action and taking a forward step, right? You got to have action, and action moving forward is hero energy. This happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. It's stuck in the past. You're retelling that same story. And not that you don't acknowledge that past. That's super important that you acknowledge it. But then you have to make a move. You have to go forward. And that's what's driving the story is the action.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's what's so important in this is that so I'm a somatic therapist, and storytelling, we know in the history of, it's 12 steps. There's something very valuable about being able to tell your story and be witnessed.
Yes.
It can be really healing, or even playback theater, which is
Yes, I
tell it-
know playback. Yeah.
right, telling your story, and then but you're like, how did you want it to end, and getting to rewrite the story. And I was thinking about storytelling and the shadow of storytelling, and how people who have a lot of trauma can get addicted to telling the story, or people who are addicts can, maybe they stop using the drug, but they become addicted to telling the story of the high, or what their bad behavior was, or
Right.
and so I'm really curious what you have to say about that, if you have thoughts about that.
I see people get stuck in their story, right? Because they are retelling that same thing that happened to them. And they get a lot of attention for it, And it's hard to really look underneath it and say, okay, what am I doing? What is this victim thing that I'm telling? How's that beneficial to me? Obviously, I like it because I keep telling the same sad story over and over again. So I think, there's something of benefit, and you have to look at that. What is it that I'm getting from it? And so when I first look at a piece of material that a student sent to me, I'm looking all the time is where is the person taking a step forward? Taking just one step forward.
Right.
And also owning their behavior. People don't want to own their behavior. I know I don't want to own my behavior, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
And then the importance from a somatic vantage point, when I'm first meeting someone and I'm listening for like, well, if we work together, what difference would it make? What are some measurable results? I'm looking for their gestures. I'm listening for, it's like, oh, well, what would it feel like if you had that thing you say you want? And then
Right.
how do you move from, and so it's very related to theater in an interesting way. It's like, how do you move from how you've lived in this kind of static, stuck place to that expansive, when people say happy or joyful or whatever, it's like, well, what does that mean? But there's a gesture and a shift in their physicality. And it's like, well, what does it take to move from that to this? And what somatically has to occur for that to be more of your default?
I love that because I love that you're doing that because that's everything. It's the embodiment. It's the somatic practice, and that's very much what we do in the retreats. Because I'm like you, looking for micro movements. I'm looking for where is somebody contracted and held, and where can I get them to expand? And I always say, find another way than they're normally used to being. Step into new shoes, and that's why I use improvisation because if we're doing improvs or we're doing monologues, you can't get that censoring brain in there to stop you, right? I mean, it can, but hopefully through time when we're in this retreat, you get to a really place of trusting your body's going to give you some information. Body doesn't lie. And so I'm watching that happen from these contracted places to this full expansion. And it's very unfamiliar with a lot of people, but if you get them into that state, they can tap it. And they can hold on to the feeling in their body rather than just in their mind. And that's huge. That's huge.
What you're naming is so important because when I do body work with people,
Yes.
and the idea is I'm creating some kind of imprint for them to revisit. It's like
Beautiful.
It's like a pathway back. And so
That's exactly it. Yeah.
right. And so
Yes.
and people, when I did the show years ago and it was very somatic, a couple people were like, my body felt changed. And
Wow.
that, and other people were horrified by some things. But that's a whole other story. I love that. When you see a piece of art or when you go to the theater or when you any experience where you're viscerally impacted
Yeah.
and then you have a point of reference back to it.
Yes.
The mutual friend who took your workshop, it was the practice that he described that you had him do. I actually cried when he was talking
I
about it.
can't, I'm not, because of confidentiality, say
No,
anything, but it
yeah.
was probably one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. Yeah.
I mean, I could feel the emotion as he was describing it and the extreme discomfort and the power, and I was like, "This," before I even knew who you were, because he hadn't said your name, I was like, whoever guided him through that, I could see what, from a somatic therapist point of view, the direction that this person was giving him, and I was like, "Oh, this person nailed it. This is such an impeccable suggestion. I want to do I wanna work with this person," and then it was you, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited."
That's so funny. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's breathtaking when you see these monologues, and they're not written monologues. These are on the fly, right? You
Mhm.
get somebody in an emotional state, like I
Yeah.
hate or I love or I yearn or I'm,
Mm,
and then you lob in a word and they're just off and running. But they cannot be off and running unless they first embody the feeling. So
mm,
the feeling first, then the phrase, and then you've lit a fire.
mhm,
It's like,
mhm.
and
Well,
I tell you, it's the best theater I see all year.
you also had him do a
A physical
gesture,
gesture. Yeah, so
and
everybody has to, so if you put your state like,
uh-huh,
I yearn, and you really tap into I yearn, and you're feeling that in your whole entire body, and I'm giving you a physical gesture that makes you yearn, and
mhm,
you get into that, and then I lob in a word like, I yearn to be touched,
mm,
right? And you just say, I yearn to be touched, I yearn to be touched, and then more and more words will come, or memories, or stories,
mm.
or feelings. It's so powerful, and, it's beautiful to watch, and those monologues, I they're about 10 minutes. People they could have gone on. Noah and I could have gone on for a long, long time, and, it's hard to cut people off because 'cause you're watching things unfold and unravel from years right there.
So, just picturing having to stand in front of a room full of people and do that on the fly, like, I'm a writer, so, like, written, I'm more comfortable, but just
I'm looking at you.
I'm so uncomfortable when I picture what you just described and the courage that it took for him or anyone to do that. I bow down. I'm, like, in awe. I still struggle with visibility. Inside of all the I mean, I've done a one-woman show, but, I'm still, the trajectory of healing a fear of what comes when you're visible is
Yes.
still something I
Oh, no,
can
I have it
work with.
too. It hasn't
Yeah.
all gone away. I don't think it'll, we're all, what is it? As Alanis says, hurtling towards wholeness. We're on a healing journey, so we're getting a little better all the time.
That's also a really interesting part of your history. So
Yeah.
you've worked with Mel Brooks and Alanis Morissette,
Yes.
and you're a coach for her, or
Yeah, I've coached her and we teach together. We just taught at Canyon Ranch together in Tucson, and I think we both have just great respect for each other's work and artistry. So she's also a big believer of my shows that I do around. But that came through a student. Well, I want to go back to what you first talked
oh,
before I
yeah.
talk about
Go ahead.
Alanis is this fear of like, I can't imagine getting on the stage and doing these monologues. So when I
Mhm.
was teaching at Esalen, I always hid improvisation and movement. I didn't even say it. And because I knew writers, generally introverted, are not going to sign up for this course. And so they would show up, and they get there, and then I spring this on them, and it just worked. I mean, I think they would come again and again. I have people come 16, 17, 18 times to the retreat that would never call themselves performers. They're writers, but they saw the value
Mhm.
in totally, totally embodying the story, and allowing for, because you're trying to break a pattern. In any story, you're trying to break the pattern. I am stuck in my second act. I keep hitting the wall. what is it, right? That's the second act. And we're all in it all the time with something. Everybody's fighting a battle. And then these monologues, these embodied practices allow people to at least identify and then make another choice that's going to change them and feel it. And so I, and I had one group in Hawaii, all writers, no performers in there. And by the end of the week, we do a show for the community. Not one of them did one of their written pieces. They all did monologues on the fly.
That was transformative for me. If I walked away from your workshop with more ease in that way, that would be very profound for me.
Okay. I think you will. For sure.
That's I feel like a really important part of how I work as a therapist, but also is an essential part of creating a very human character that you can relate to and you feel compelled by, and you're like, I'm rooting for this person to overcome this piece.
Right.
Right? But also accept themselves, because we all have those parts.
Yeah.
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 So
I mean, I love parts work. I think
yeah.
when you're writing characters, you've been to parts before there was a thing called parts work, right? Because
Totally.
that's what you're doing when you're writing a story. You're minding the contradictions. Should I meditate or masturbate? Meditate or masturbate, right? This one's saying, shaming me if I just want to masturbate. This one's saying, no, you only be this. So you're working with all that all the time. And I'm like, okay. Which
Yeah.
one is... So I mind those parts for material.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, most people come to see me for parts of themselves that they are rejecting. And
Yeah.
I'm like, basically, this person isn't good. You're not going to move forward until you can appreciate how that part has served you, how it's trying to protect you, and you really accept it and integrate it, and even maybe be its protector.
Yeah.
And then there's a shift. But otherwise, it's like a dam, things are stuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful that you do that. I mean, to me, that's the deepest work right there. That acceptance, that profound acceptance of those parts we want to just put in a closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking too about where I want to go with the parts. It just left me. I didn't know about any of this actually until coaching Alanis, because she introduced me to highly sensitive people. She introduced me to parts, attachment, all this. I was like, I thought I was a self-help junkie until I met her. I'm like, oh, she knew so much and she really opened me up. So as much as I was coaching her, she was coaching me.
That's beautiful. And that's as it should be, really.
Yeah.
Right? You're ever evolving and
yes. Yeah. So, and ahead of her game. Ahead of her time, I think, with really putting out the message of this wholeness, and that we're just going towards it. Here are some tools, and really wanting to teach your audiences, which is wonderful, remarkable.
The best kind of art, right?
Yeah, truly.
Also really using your platform for good.
Yeah.
For
She is.
evolution of, not just your own, but everyone's.
Yeah, exactly.
How did it come to be that you collaborated or worked with Mel Brooks?
This was for anybody out there that's a creative person and wanting to make their living at it. Let me just tell you a little story. I worked the graveyard shift at a homeless shelter in Santa Monica. When I moved to Los Angeles, my big thing was to make it big, get on Saturday Night Live. That was my one goal at the time, because that's who I was going to be. I loved Carol Burnett. I loved Gilda Radner. I loved all this SNL. And then I got in this company. It's a series of classes you got to take, and they weed out hundreds of people. And I got in the company, which is called Groundlings. And I was performing every week with Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan. And the classes, the performances were on Thursday night and Friday night. And then I had to have a job because I was broke and, trying to make it. And so I took a job, the graveyard shift at a homeless shelter for mentally ill women in Santa Monica. And I really thought I'd just be there 6 months before I made it big. Well, every year after year, and I'm performing with him. And as I'm performing, I come to this realization, I just don't want to be funny. I've got this immense depth in me, and to limit myself to a 3-minute sketch, it's holding me back. And this was a very big choice point for me as an artist because I was in performing with these big cats. Nobody had made it yet, but I knew I was in the place that was a launch pad. Yeah, I had to really listen to that impulse within me as, Ann, you're much more than a 3-minute sketch. You got so much more. So I quit the Groundlings, which people thought was insane. And I wrote my first one-person show. And I think I got critics pick for that. And I stayed at the shelter, making minimum wage. Another 3 years go by. I get best solo show in LA, but I'm self-producing with my credit card. It's like, this goes on for 10 years. Now, 10 years full-time at a homeless shelter, and now I'm 40 years old. I'm thinking, I'll be homeless myself. And I had put up a show. This one was the closest I ever got to revealing my own truth and shame. That's what happened. And I put it up, and one night that I'm in there, Mel Brooks is in the audience, and he comes up afterwards. He says, you're going to genius. I'm going to take this show to New York. So it was a game-changing moment. And the reason he was in the audience, I was taking this class with this woman, and she was Mel's daughter-in-law, but I didn't know this. And she kept saying, I'm going to bring my in-laws. I'm like, bring whoever the fuck you want. I don't care. I didn't know it was them, right? Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks.
I went to high school with his son.
Oh, you did Max?
Yeah,
I love Max.
he was a couple years older than me.
Yeah,
But I thought he was pretty.
I love Max. He just came to my show when I did it here in LA. So it was wonderful to see Max. And I'm seeing Michelle. I just saw Michelle the other night. We went to see Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so great.
But Cher came on, Joni Mitchell, John Legend. I mean, it was like star-studded. Last show of her career. Oh, it's gotta be sad. That's what I think, but maybe not.
So that's when you formed a relationship with him, and part of that story is a stick-to-itness and a faith in yourself
Yeah.
and what you're offering. And I'm curious, what resourced you during that decade? What were because not everybody has faith in themselves, especially if you've had
I didn't have the I mean, it was really challenging because I'm seeing every one of my friends get either writing jobs on sitcoms or get to SNL, and I'm still at the shelter. I think that was a line in one of my shows. I'm still at the shelter. And I definitely was in dark places there with doubt and hopelessness for sure to be 40 years old. And I'd given up so much. I had let go of relationships because I'm just like, I was out of balance. I was like, I'm only going to go after this. That's it. Everything else falls aside. So I was also completely out of balance. And, but the thing that kept me going was the support of my teacher and my tribe. I think that's why I live on mute so much, because people were championing each other there. And it's too lonely to do this really hard work alone. And also winning the awards. I would win best solo show. I would win these awards, and people didn't know I was struggling to survive. So that validation from the press and from peers and awards was also very satisfying. I know, and kept me going. When Mel Brooks finally did come to the show, I was at the shelter. So, and my show was at 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is insane for a solo show, but he had won best solo show in LA at 2 hours and 20 minutes. And so Mel's like, you're not going to New York till you get it down to 80 minutes. So I'm like, but it won. He's like, he goes, we're getting it down. And so I would literally be at the shelter at night. Then I would go to Mel and Ann's during the day, and they'd help me. And it was like back and forth. And then like every 6 weeks, I'd have to put up the new thing for like a private audience of Liam Neeson or Carl Reiner for them to weigh in. Was the show ready or not? And they option it. And if I don't get it ready, right, I'll be back at the shelter. So, I mean, I still am the show. I'll remain at the shelter. So the stakes were high. It was like homeless shelter Broadway.
That's wild. That's so wild.
Finally, they said, you're good to go. So that was quite a time. And then there's probably the most traumatic thing happened during that time. I don't know if that's anywhere in my bio, but so I opened in New York and I got wonderful reviews, but maybe 4 months before the show opened, Ann Bancroft, her name was on the poster. Ann Bancroft presents Ann Randolph. She got cancer. And Mel said, "And she's going to be okay, but we're going to turn you over to somebody to handle the day-to-day marketing to get you ready for New York." And I got the phone. I was, thank God she's okay. But as the months got on, this other producer that was handling all the marketing was just, I was not on his radar. And I wanted to pick up the phone and call Mel and say, "I'm about to do 8 shows a week in New York. And you got to have a machine behind you." But I couldn't do it because now I'd found out Ann was dying. And I thought, how can I ask about me?
Totally.
But here's the thing that's going to take me out of the shelter and lift me, because we were also going to do the movie. We're doing the Broadway show, then the movie, right? And now all of this is not the show on New York's collapsing. That's going to happen, but there's no marketing, right? So I open in New York to these reviews, but hardly any audience. And to get your dream, and Mel sees what's happening. He sees the other guy didn't pick up the ball, wants to show up, and started taking out quarter-page ads for $20,000 a pop, like, because the guy didn't pick up the ball.
Oh my
But it
God.
was too late. So the show only ran for a limited time with these great reviews, and then it closed. I'm like, oh no, now what? I'm back home. I have no money. I have a little bit of money from the opening. I'm back home in my parents' house with books on the shelf that say, "Do what you love and the money will follow." And I'm like, fuck you, right? So I think that was probably the most traumatic, like in my early adult, of to build to this point
Yeah.
and lose it all. In my mind at the time, I will never, ever have this chance again. I will never recover from this loss. 10 years to get me to Broadway. This is it. And now just collapse. It was the most devastating thing. And at the same time, my dad was diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer, and my mother had a stroke. So there was a tremendous amount of grief at one time, loss.
Yeah.
And then that's when I picked up that pen again and started writing about loss, and wrote another show out of that. And that show was only supposed to run 6 weeks. It ran for 2 years straight in San Francisco. And I made lots of money, as one can make money in theater. And then it toured. It went all over the country. It did great. But at the time, it was the best thing I've ever written. That show that came out of that loss was the most honest, raw, gut-wrenching, holy shit. I mean, I just laid my soul bare in that one, because I had literally gone to the rock bottom at 41 when the show closed.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's such a, that is the human experience encapsulated in terms of, you know, and I hate to say the like the blessing inside of the challenge, but you know, that there was this huge piece, almost like the thing you fear most, like I'm not gonna make it. It's not gonna happen for me. And it does happen for me, and yet there's still so much loss inside of it. And how do you just completely surrender? And how do you grieve? And then being that totally honest and accepting it's part of this universal experience of loss.
Yeah.
And how relatable that was for people.
But you don't want to accept the loss. When you're in it, you're just surviving, and you think, I'm not going to make it. I'm really going to die. And I wanted to die. It was like, okay, I'm not going to get this again. I'm not going to get anything close to this again. Right. And yet I look back at like the best thing that ever happened. Right. But you can't do that. You can't do hindsight when you're in the middle of a crisis.
No, you literally feel like you're treading water, and you will drown if you stop.
And if people can remember that are listening out there, I mean, I tell myself that all the time, a crisis comes, and just look, every single time has been a gift, a tremendous gift.
Yeah. It's an interesting, I'm a glass half full person. And so even in the midst of it, like I may prematurely be looking for, it's like I'm in the physical body experience of the trauma that's occurring, and then be it from a spiritual vantage point, see the gift or the growth opportunity inside of it, you know? And so, but it's like, oh, doing both, and how do you fully process the physical experience and not, you know, spiritually bypass,
right,
and try to look for the gift prematurely. It's
right.
like, actually, let's process, you know, this experience first, and then allow time to pass and get the also, you know, the perspective.
Well, that's good. You're half full. I'm a half empty.
Well, look, we can make
a work harder.
Jug. We can make here we can go. Look, we've got a whole mason jar.
I love it. A whole jug. Okay. I'm working on it. I'm working on changing those perceptions. And that's what, I'm always asking the students too, can we widen our lens so it's not the way we normally see it? And it's really just a practice over again to chat, where's my thoughts? Is it going to negative? Am I attacking myself or others in my head?
What do you think is key for that in terms of actually being able to transform through storytelling? Are there certain pieces?
Well, I think first the awareness and not trying to suppress something. So where there's heat in the body, I'm always going back to the body. Where do you feel
Mhm.
get choked up or in your
Mhm.
stomach or you get flushed or
Mhm.
what's not wanting to be expressed right now and write that. And boy, that's terrifying for people. It's terrifying for me. So it's just, and it never goes away because each time you're upping the ante. Right now, I'm doing this crazy character on Facebook. So I got some thousands of people watching her and
Mm.
she's pushing the envelope. And I'm like, Ann, you're going to push it and you could risk losing everything. So once again, I'm at a big risk point. And it's scary for me. It's terrifying. But if I don't do it, you got that conscious always whispering
Yeah.
what is right every single second. And are you going to choose to pay attention to that still small voice? You can call it God. I call it God. I might call it other, but you kind of know. You don't kind of know. You know what would be right in this moment.
Mhm.
And we don't often listen to that voice. We betray that voice for
Mhm.
safety.
A lot of overriding.
Yeah, that security of safety is such a powerful seducer. It is to me, especially as you get older. You're like,
Mhm.
I can't take any risks now. I got how many more years of earning power?
Are you also speaking to the fear of cancel culture when you say, like, risk?
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah, with my
Yeah.
character now,
Yeah.
I'm up against cancel culture, right?
Mhm.
She's a
Mhm.
straight out Appalachia. She talks like that, and she works at a waffle wagon, and she's got some opinions. I always
Yeah.
fear cancel culture because I think cancel culture is super dangerous. I mean, it doesn't allow for a person to be redeemed.
Mm.
And to me, redemption is everything. I make mistakes every day. I've made huge mistakes in the past. If you cancel me for one little thing, and people do that, I mean, look, we swung too far. I mean, it's good to bring up and call people out when
Mhm.
they have done wrong.
Yeah.
It is. But to cancel them and not give them another chance, because they dug up something 25 years ago
Mhm.
and found it and shame them for today. Oh my God, the things they could dig up on me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm just trying to, you know, find a way to say that we're all evolving and growing and doing the very best that we can.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so important because there's so much suffering comes from a lack of self-acceptance and a lack of self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
And also not forgiving others. I mean, you're really imprisoned in the past. And so I do energy medicine practices with clients and it's really about how do you bring all as much of your energy from the past or from the future, fear of what's happening in the future into this present moment.
I love that.
And it's like, because being in the present moment, that's where your nervous system is usually the most regulated. Like I remember literally having diarrhea and feeling like I'm gonna have a panic attack or sobbing before getting on stage. Then I can just be totally present and then getting off again,
Yeah.
system dysregulation. But being in the present moment, there's so much more peace and ease. You
Right.
know, so if we're just like gripping the past and what happened to,
Yeah.
or we're afraid of what's gonna happen.
I love that you shared
Yeah.
that because it's true. It's true. And that feeling right. And how quickly the nervous system can change because I know that right before you go on stage. And then once you're there, it's like to me the greatest peace.
It's bizarre.
It's
I
wild.
I I as someone who I mean, I had panic attacks in college and had a massively dysregulated, anxious system. Somatic work transformed my life. But I would cry. My girlfriend would be like, "You don't have to do this." And I was like, "No, I want to." But I'd be like, I was just so freaked out. Like I really felt like I was gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's bizarre how
It's
scary.
so yeah, it's like that. And you think, "Why do you do it?" I spend days beforehand diarrhea, crying, like, "I hate the what am I doing?" And then you do it, you're like, "This is the greatest time of my life."
Well, that moment that you're talking about where if you're doing comedy and I like satire and but just that moment where you feel either the silence because everyone is with you, or the laughter because they're with you. I mean, that it's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, you're playing with energy up there, right?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can feel the energy back and forth, and it's profound, and you're giving a message that's transmitting hopefully to their heart. And what can be greater than that? Then their heart's coming back with their heart. I mean, it's a beautiful, to me, love fest up there.
It's interesting. That's the first time I've thought about theater as a tantric practice,
Ah,
right? Like, isn't that's
yeah,
basically what that is. It's like
yeah,
this tantric, like you're working, you're using your energy, you're conducting something, and if you're hoping to ultimately have an open heart and an
yeah,
open system, then it's very
yeah,
tantric.
yeah. That's why I think it's also super important that when you're going to transmit, that you're about as clean as possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I've had issues with because I will feed my body with crap like McDonald's, which is embarrassing to say. And like once I do a show, I clean myself up because that all taints you, in some way. I mean, people think, "Oh my God, Ann, that's too perfectionistic," but I think it all makes a
I
difference.
yeah, I'm in that. As a result of health issues that I've had, inflammation, like internalized repressed anger throughout childhood,
Yeah,
it forced me onto a spiritual path and forced me into very clean existence because I feel everything in my system.
yeah,
And not just food, but like other people. And
right.
so
You're permeable. I get it.
it taught
Yeah,
me how to
because you're sensitive. Mhm.
yeah, right, that
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank God you are.
Uh,
Yeah.
One thing that I would love to hear you talk some about is the difference between you could write something and read it, right? Like you could write something, and if you're just reading it to yourself, there's a different experience, or the experience of writing it. But then once you speak it and the process of feeling and embodying, completely different,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Oh, vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable, and it's also the act of being. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about speaking out loud to yourself,
No,
but
to
when you
an
speak it
audience.
and
Yeah.
you're witnessed, there's nothing more healing, not only for you, but for the audience, because you're giving them permission by you saying your truth and standing your truth. You're giving them tremendous permission for them to own their truth and own their feelings of grief or shame because you've stood there so vulnerably and shared it yourself.
Mm.
So the impact of stories on another is profound and breathtaking. I was doing a show on grief at the arena stage. It was 8 shows a week, and it's a comedy, right? I do comedy, but also it's got gut-wrenching tears in it. And afterwards, the audience just sit there, right? And I could see they're hungry, so I said, "Well, how many instead of going to a bar would like to write about grief?" And half that audience stayed, and every night after my show, I do a writing workshop on
Mm.
grief,
Mm.
and I'd have them write, and then one night some guy, he said, "I'd like to read mine," and he came up and he took the stage, and he wrote about losing his wife to breast cancer, and he just started weeping, and I saw this audience of strangers become this community holding space for this man to tell his story, and so more and more people would get on stage, share their story, and now we're in a theatrical interactive experience that is breathtaking. Because then I come it's not my story, it's your story, it's all our stories, right? But that show, my show, I believe, gave that man permission, then that man gave somebody else permission. It's just like this.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous, and I think that's why the retreats are so powerful, because
Mm.
every day you're hearing people share these stories, but you're also saying, "Well, that's me in there. That's me, and you're not so alone." And believe me, we're a very lonely society right now. We all
Mhm.
feel so alone, and stories are what connect us.
Mm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, the use of storytelling to heal isolation and shame
Yeah.
and build resilience and self-acceptance and self-awareness,
And self-awareness. Yeah. And I also think when you're listening, I think the other question you asked me, well, what kept you going during these times? And this is what keeps me going all the time is synchronistic events, which I believe come from the divine.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. I've had like miracle, 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 miracle in the midst of hell, 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 miracle, miracle, miracle. So I have no doubt that I've got a higher power watching over me and guiding me. So every year I get more trusting in that I don't really need to push anymore. Just watch what unfolds. Because for many years I just push, push, push. And now I'm like, unfold, unfold, unfold.
Well, and the pushing can be like you're going in the wrong. It's like you're trying to force yourself to go in a direction upstream that isn't the direction,
Yeah.
and versus what allowing and floating. Like I'm
Yeah.
picturing, like letting the river carry you.
But it's hard when I'm ambitious, and
Yeah.
it's hard. I want things now. And then but my whole list has also been patience. Who's patient?
Do you have a spiritual practice? Are there any things you particularly engage in that are helpful to you?
Well, the one is making me open to how you want to guide me. Like, what would you have me say? What would you have me do? Give me guidance today. But nothing I'll do some meditation and body scans like Reginald Ray. I love his body scans. I'll do that. I'll do Sarah Blondin, but I pop all around. But I also do Marianne Williamson's course because I like the practice of continually changing my thought patterns. So she has a daily where I'll read one and work on that, which I think is really good. Anything that's going to help you. I wish I could be one of those persons. I'm disciplined. I do this but I pop all over the place. But I definitely believe in God. I definitely believe in the teachings of Christ and Buddha and Rumi and Sufi and I read that. I'm inspired and those words give me great comfort.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and the thing around discipline, I think it can look different ways. And I think, being overly rigid and forcing yourself to do the same practice for decades isn't the right thing for everybody. Like keeping it
Right.
alive. I mean, a lot of what you're talking about is being with energy as it arises, liberating yourself.
Yes.
Like through story, but from story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
But allowing, and that's why I love all energy practices. I use martial arts based practices. I do energy medicine, Kundalini yoga.
I got to work with you.
Well, I would love to, but what I see, how I hold trauma, it's like what we tell ourselves creates restrictions in the body as well as fascial restrictions that exist. But it's like, how do you liberate the energy and allow movement to occur?
Right.
And, I love this educational theater.
Oh, I'm big on edutainment. That's the word. Edutainment.
Edutainment. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are you offering right now how people can engage with you?
I'm offering work with there's many ways. If you're online, you can do a daily writing practice, and there's nothing like it. It's called Unmute Your Story Matters, and it's Monday through Friday. Super cheap. And we also have master classes in there. We have guest artists come in, and it's just such a beautiful community. People have written books. Some people in there not to write books, but really doing deep healing in there. And you really get to know the people. I'm there every day with you. You got any questions about anything, creatively or personally? I do my best, even though I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm a creative coach, and I have a shit ton of experience. So and then weekly, I do probably 3 to 4 week-long retreats a year, and they usually sell out really quickly. I'm lucky. I have people come back again and again. And so I really get to see people's journeys with these stories and see books written, solo shows put on stage. And then I just was invited by MEA, which is Modern Elder Academy, to come do 4 weekends a year in Santa Fe.
And what's your social media? I mean, this will all be in the show notes, but what are your links so people can find you?
Ann Randolph, I think 12 is the Facebook page, and Instagram I'm not so much on. I'm trying to be better because I'm putting this character out now that's got some traction. In fact, I'm here because I've been invited as that character, which is a big brassy redhead, it's got a mouth on her, a waitress, to give a sermon at a local church here in Santa Monica. So I'm like, I can't resist. And it's a sermon where I will push the envelope. In Kauai, I got I toured, and I was so tired of being on the road, and this is a crazy story. Touring. I'm like, I can't keep on the road. I got to find a place to live. But if I don't go on the road, how am I going to make my money? And like, here we go. God, give me a sign. So one of the last stops on my tour was Kauai. And the only place you can perform in Kauai is at the Church of the Pacific, which is a church in Princeville on the North Shore. And I'm telling the church secretary, I said, I'm so tired of being on the road. And, I come there every year to perform. She goes, well, I don't know why you just don't live in the pastor's house. I'm like, what do you mean? The pastor lives in the house. She goes, no, he lives down the road in a taro farm. He's a taro farmer. And I said, but I'm not even a member of the church. She goes, I know, but we love you here. And these are like, I said, I do R-rated shows. She goes, well, just remove the crucifix when you do the shows. And she's like, I said, this is crazy. She goes, I'm going to talk to them. That pastor goes to Vegas lots of times. And when he goes to Vegas, I think you could do the sermon. They give you that pastor's house. So this is God, right? God put
Love it.
me.
Yeah.
I moved into the pastor's house, and I'm taking a risk. I said no to Esalen, Omega, all these places I was touring because I can't keep getting on that plane. And then so I'm there, and I start inviting people to come study with me in Kauai.
Mm.
And there's 4 bedrooms in this pastor's house on the ocean, right? And so it gets booked right away. Retreats sell out.
Amazing.
And because it's a tourist town, I constantly can put up my R-rated show in the church, right? And then it was like I was never leaving Kauai, but
It's
then something else happened.
perfectly edgy. I mean, it probably compelled people, right? Yeah. They're like, ooh, not a show in a church.
No, I always feel like my greatest forte is holding both the sacred and the profane, the reverent and the
Yes.
irreverent. They go hand in hand. And people are like, oh, no, you just got to be reverent. I'm like, you can't be just reverent if you don't go to the flip side of nasty.
Oh my
So-
God. I'm so excited for my time with you in your workshop. It's a birthday treat for me for my 50th birthday. I'm like doing all the things I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm like doing them this year. So thank you so much for your time.
So I look forward to being with you in person. Yeah.
I can't wait. So now what I want to tell you, one of the things that I do talk about in that one person show was when in my early 20s, I was in a lesbian porn and it won an AVN award in Vegas. It's like people went to accept the award
Wow.
in Vegas. I didn't go because I was doing it literally because I was trying to embrace being okay with being a sexual person.
Yeah.
Like I was doing it for healing and I
Yeah.
had the intention. I was like, okay, I want to be present. I want to be okay with being a sexual being. And I want to wear a Velcro suit and allow like some positive things, the things that people say to stick to my body. That's what, that was my
Beautiful.
intention in doing this porn. I had no idea how visible it was going to be.
Oh my God.
And so
Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it, but what I didn't,
Good.
the thing is I consented to it in this moment in time and
Yeah.
I didn't realize. So guess what? It ended up being used. I found out for 20 years, it was being used to teach sex therapists all in France and in the States. This teacher, I discovered it only because my friend was in the training and went from being sitting there like this to looking at me getting fucked in the ass. Oh, what? It's like, so I discovered my friend is the head of the sex therapy program at my grad school.
Yeah.
And anyways, so it was just like this idea that you could consent to something in one moment in time
Yeah.
and then it follows you for 20 years and you have
Yeah.
no idea that it's being
Yeah.
seen by all
Really?
your colleagues for,
Right. Yeah.
so it was this interesting thing. But so I wrote an article about it and I've never published it because I've been conflicted do I want that to be the focal point of my identity in the world? Because people are going to latch on to that piece of information.
But do you? It's all how you
frame it.
frame it, because when I talk to you, I don't see that as your vocal point of your identity. Oh, I mean, it's like, oh, that happened in the past, right?
Yeah, hopefully. But people are You know what I mean? Like if it was on the
Yeah.
back of a jacket cover and it was like,
Right.
poor, like I healed enough. It was a testimonial for somatic work because I couldn't
Right.
take it.
Beautiful.
I couldn't take a deeper breath
Right.
without having panic attacks in college.
Ah,
Like I couldn't do vocal exercises
Yeah.
without
without
having,
panicking.
right?
Yeah.
And so the idea that I could actually like, have sex in a room full of people and, whatever. So it's an important part of my story, but then yeah,
Yeah.
I've
No, I see
created
this
about.
important, but I've had numerous students use sex work as healing. I
Mhm.
just had Johnny Seaman, the porn star. He just does one person show. He's 80 years old. He's in the Porn Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
Johnny Seaman. And
I love it.
so I don't know. I
Yeah.
also think you don't put it out there till you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
it's sitting right with me. Because look, I've been wanting to do
Yeah.
this daggone character forever. I'm like, I'm too scared. I'm too neurotic. The time is right when the time is right, right?
Yeah.
And you'll know. So
And what you're saying, like, and I didn't talk about this when I was interviewing you, but like I really heard how you have an intuition practice,
yeah.
right? Like it's God, like there's that internal
Yeah.
intuitive voice. You could call it God, you could call it intuition, but
That's
yeah.
it for me more than being able to sit. I'm ADD. I can't sit still. So, but listening, I can hear where God is guiding me. I feel that. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I hope it's God, not my ego.
Yeah, sometimes
You never know. Okay.
hard to tell. But
Okay.
so yeah. Anyways, that's one of the things I was like thinking about.
I would explore that. If that's
Shame and
juicy for you, I would explore that one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Especially as it's such a beautiful arc. I went there to heal this part and it worked. And
It's a testimony. It's a pretty strong testimony
yeah.
if you allow it to be
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
Right?
I hear you. Thank you for sharing that with me.
I am really so excited that I'm gifting myself this time with you on this retreat. I can't wait.
I can't wait
And
too.
oh my gosh.
Oh.
So and if you ever do want to stay connected you I know you're like, I need to work with you. But if you are interested, we can totally talk.
Thank you so much.
I would
You have marvelous tools, I can tell.
Yeah. And
Mm.
if you ever are passing through Oakland and you need a place to stay, my office is my guest room and
Oh,
I'm also building out like a hot tub hut into it's like a garden
wow.
office. And
Okay.
so there will be some options.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
So
Okay.
so good to spend time with you.
All right. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm your host, Charna Cassell. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, rate, review, and share it with your friends. If you want to stay connected, you can go to Instagram or Facebook and LaidOPEN Podcast, LaidOPEN Podcast. I also have a course that you can access at charnacassell.com. And you can join my newsletter, and I have a free monthly energy clear out that you can sign up for at either passionatelife.org or charnacassell.com. This has been the LaidOPEN Podcast with your host, Charna Cassell. We all have different capacities, but I believe in our capacity to grow and change together. Until next time.